Jonathan Hartzenberg. I'm one of the engineering surveyors in the Cape Town office. I've been tasked for the next 2 years to assist with marine officers in terms of assisting them in training, guiding them through the surveying processes, and basically take them through the way SAMSA works. And hopefully at the end of the 2-year program, we'll have a better surveyor that can join the SAMSA family and put that positive work out into the field.
Jonathan, the Marine Officers Program, just a brief background on that. We started sometime in 2021, is that correct?
That's right, yes. What happened was, I was hearing rumors through the grapevine that they wanted to start training some surveyors that never specifically had a Class 1 chief or master's ticket yet, and they wanted to introduce them to the surveying regime, and then in doing so develop them so that we could then use people that didn't have necessarily a Class 1 to go out into the field and survey, because majority of our vessels are under 25 ton. There's small vessels that also form part of our whole survey regime, and they could focus on surveying those, and then the surveyors that do have their Class 1 can focus on the larger vessels and the port state inspections and so forth.
Brilliant. All right, so what's our current intake? The last time I had an opportunity to meet the MOs, there were 3 of them. Is that the number of MOs we currently have? And is that the number that we are going to be sticking with for the next 2 years?
There initially was the opening for the 5 marine officers, but due to unforeseen circumstances, there were only 3 that eventually joined the program. They started off working with me. They came in at different phases, so it was scattered initially, but at this stage they're more or less on the same page, all in terms of their training and what they've been exposed to. The program is still a pilot program, so possibly once these 3 have moved through possibly the first 6 months, we can then look at maybe bringing in additional training
Marine officers.
Marine officers, yeah. In doing so, we can then keep them moving through the system, but that all depends on SAMSA's plan forward, if upper management would want that to be the case, or if they would first let this program complete and then see what products we get at the end of it.
That's wonderful, Jonathan. Maybe at this point I need to bring in Debbie to just chat about what this training program is all about. Debbie, let's chat about the nature of this program. For a layman, my understanding is that it's basically an exposure to both internal processes as well as, on the field kind of surveying that's being done on certain types of boats. Please talk to me about it.
All right. So from SAMSA's perspective, obviously, one of SAMSA's objectives is to promote the maritime industry, and we just believe that this is a unique opportunity to provide an in-house training program which will assist with industry development and provide different opportunities to the youth who are able to be part of this training program. So yeah, it's a very good initiative, and we hope we can have other marine officers join in the future. And with Jonathan on board, with the engineering experience, is a wealth of knowledge and information to the youth. So yeah, SAMSA is also embarking on the training of all internal and external surveyors, as well as the marine officers, to ensure that, so part of the training is to ensure that the correct and consistent application of, from our side, my side, the small vessel legislation is consistent, and which is fundamental for the maintenance of the safety standards in the industry.
Okay, now that I think that makes sense. But let's drill down to the specific training program. For example, I think you're talking something about small vessels. There was an induction that's taken place, and what other courses are involved in this process?
The Small Vessel Surveyor Training course addresses the legislative framework within SAMSA, as well as the minimum technical standards which are required to be complied with. So the Marine Officer Training Program provides this small vessel training through a number of courses. First of all, the Small Vessel Surveyor Training course, which runs over a period of 1 week. This particular course addresses survey requirements for commercial vessels of less than 25 gross tons, pleasure vessels of less than 100 gross tons used at sea or uncharted waters, and any vessel used on inland waters. So SAMSA has recently introduced as well a refresher built-in buoyancy training course, which all surveyors need to attend within the next 24 months. Both internal and external surveyors, as well as our safety officers affiliated to the authorized agencies, are required to attend. And as part of this training program with the marine officers, the other courses which are being provided are courses such as the pontoon vessel training course, the GRP, which is the glass reinforced plastic course, the steel and aluminium training course, the wooden vessel course, as well as the small passenger vessel training course. So these in-house courses, I feel, provides so much information to our existing surveyors and our external surveyors. And if I can mention again, we are very fortunate to have Jonathan Hotzenberg to assist with the training, as he provides, as I say, such a wealth of knowledge, and he makes the training exciting for the young team. He keeps us all smiling.
Well, talking of smiles and all that, the young MOs had a chuckle when I mentioned to them that I had no idea what a pontoon is. I thought it was a wooden boat, and they actually tried to demonstrate what this thing is. And I thank them very much for that, because look, it's a learning curve for myself as well. Now I know what a pontoon boat looks like. All right. If I may bring in Jonathan again. Jonathan, this is a 2-year program. And Debbie has just mentioned some of the courses that the youngsters are going through, including that pontoon, boat survey thing that I knew absolutely nothing about. But just looking at the next 18 months to 19 months that they have left, what kind of training is going to take place? For example, something was mentioned about an Lgsc course, a hull course, practical surveys and all that. Just talk to me about that.
So yes, so what Debbie just highlighted you on now is basically the first initial phase of the training, where they familiarize with the small vessel and how to inspect a small vessel and how to ensure that they are safe. And obviously the administrative process behind all of that. And then we just build up from there. As the vessels get bigger, there are more strict rules that we have to apply. The construction regulations become more in depth. We also get the load line regulations coming into place, and it just gets more and more broader from there. So the first 6 months was basically just to get everybody familiar with how SAMSA works, introduce them to how vessels operate, especially the small vessels. And initially I've started taking them to various ports. We started off going to Saldanha, then we've already been to Mossel Bay. We've just come back from our trip in Durban. We've exposed them to various working elements in the Durban port. And we'll be going towards the end of the year towards East London side, and then again back to Mossel Bay. And it's just to familiarize them with how SAMSA and how broad SAMSA's scope of work is. Each port has their niche little element in which they survey and specific area of importance, and we have to expose them to this to make them a more holistic surveyor at the end of the day.
Look, I think it's a great start. I was in the Transvaal. Well, we don't call it the Transvaal these days anymore. I was in Gauteng for the launch of the small inland water strategy a week or so ago. And quite frankly, I think it's an exciting program and it's an involved program. Now, the training that is being undertaken, Debbie mentioned something about not only for the MOs, but also internal staff surveyors at SAMSA. But what about the people who provide services to SAMSA? Are they in any way linked in this kind of program? You can take this question or Debbie can answer it.
Yes, I can answer that one. When we were tasked with doing training for the MOs, it's an ideal opportunity to train internal staff as well, because when there's a course being offered and there's space available in the training room, by all means, anybody that needs training or even upskilling, they can join. And we try to make the most of it. And we've also got a lot of external stakeholders, external surveyors, we've got boat builders and that. And if we do have training specifically in their area, we will invite them for the training so that we can get the word across, because it's not only training that we involved in, the stakeholder engagement as well. And we like to ensure that SAMSA's clients are fully informed of how SAMSA applies the regulations to ensure that we have safe ships and safe vessels. And when we do training, the more people we can train at once, the better for SAMSA to get the word out there. And that is our mandate, is to spread the word, ensure that our ships are safe, ensure that they're inspected properly, and we make the most of every opportunity that we get. Yes.
I think that's great. And I think this is a great start talking about it and sharing this kind of information. For example, one of the things that the MOs are required to do is to actually report themselves about, their experiences of the workshop, as well as their exposure to these different elements that constitute this training program. Jonathan, thank you very much. Debbie, back with you. The training. I know when we were up at the Vaal for the launch of the inland water strategy, you did mention a few things, including a ramp up of courses to spread the word in terms of the NSVS, but also just to make sure that even those people who supply services on behalf of SAMSA are actually fully acquainted and familiar, or at least knowledgeable, with the regulations relating to small vessels. Can you just talk briefly in relation to the MO course, because you did say that it's not just limited to the MOs, but internal staff, surveyors, as well as those people, as Jonathan has just pointed out. Do you have a set of courses that are coming up in the next in the next while?
Yes, as was mentioned at the launch, we've been quite involved, SAMSA itself, with a lot of the local authorities around the country, as in your municipalities, sand parks, Cape Nature, etc., because they are actually the eyes and ears on our waterways. So engagement with them for their rangers and their enforcement officers to understand what the requirements are of the National Small Vessel Regulations, because I think a lot of the rangers, etc., are enforcing these regulations, but possibly don't really understand the background, know what an Lgsc looks like, what is a pleasure vessel, what is a commercial vessel. So the one-day training is provided to these enforcement officers, rangers, etc., just so that they can fully understand the requirements of the national small vessel regulations. And as part of the inland waters strategy, we're involved as well with a lot of the stakeholders, especially other government departments such as Department of Water and Sanitation, as well as DFFE and SAPS and NSRI. So it's very much a cooperative governance kind of role that we're trying to play, because if you have a lot of organizations that are trying to make the water safe, if you work together to try and create that safety, it's much better than working in a silo. So that's what we are planning over the next couple of weeks as well, is we're training the DFFE rangers, etc., with our requirements, and there's a MOU between SAMSA and DFFE. And going forward as well, a lot of the municipalities have requested the training, so that will all take place towards the end of the year and during the new financial year.
Well, in that case, Debbie, look, as readers and followers of SAMSA's online platforms, we've got social media, we've got the blog, and some stuff does get put on the website. I think I may as well ask you if it's going to be possible to periodically share upcoming training schedules so that people can then, become aware in a broader context. And, is there a likelihood that we could actually do that?
Yes, and I think that's very important, because I think what's happened in the past is that we have been very, very busy behind the scenes offering this training, but there hasn't really been, much coverage on it. So now going forward, yes, we will definitely share what's upcoming and let you know when the training courses will be running, so that those who require to attend can request to attend.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, because look, by creating that dedicated page, we want to ensure that as much information as is possible is shared with stakeholders, SAMSA stakeholders, and those people, the partners that we are with, as you have just mentioned. And maybe those schedules would also help a lot if they are placed in a public space, because then it will make it a lot easier to organize. As we report on what we have done, we should be able also to report on what we plan to do. Debbie, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time. I'm excited also about this MO program. I really am. And I think they like the idea that they also have to report on what they do. And we are carrying their report for October in the next day or two.
Wonderful.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and thanks to Jonathan. We'll chat again.
Very much.
Okay, then.